I can see better without them than with them nowadays. Well, what's this? It's another quick look at Pay What You Want / free RPGs. And I get to see if this is actually streaming because, yeah, there we go. Now the video's up. Yeah, it's a little bit longer this time since my last one, but that was mostly because I didn't see a lot of stuff that really interested me. As always, this is a collection of tabletop role-playing games and role-playing game accessories and adventures from DriveThruRPG that are either free or pay what you want. Some of the free products are like product demos, so a lot of them aren't very large. The pay what you want stuff, as I've always said, if you see it and you enjoy it, you know, drop a dollar or two or whatever. If it gives you a night worth of fun, then may as well, you know, kick back some money towards them if you can. I got a decent mix of stuff that I'm about to get to tonight. Yes, that's 2 streams in a row. That's did my channel update last night, which incidentally, and for the people that are watching this in the future, that really did kind of cheer me up because I was really feeling kind of down on my channel. I got some really useful feedback from that, and I got to talk some tabletop role-playing games. Don't know why I'm wearing these, because I'm not going to be listening to anything, but I guess I'm going to leave them on for now. All right. So what shall we start with? What do I have tonight? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 16 products tonight that I'm going to take a look at, some of which are relatively small. So I may mix them up a little bit. And we will start with The Graveyard Shift, a 1-page adventure written and illustrated by Daniel Ortiz. And as always, I will put a link in the chat. And I'm not even sure how many people are watching right now. Apparently just 1. But that's okay, because I know that people watch these later. I know for a fact people watch these later, because they're actually some of my most watched stuff lately. Alright, so The Graveyard Shift is literally a 1-page adventure. Legends of Elden. So let's take a look. This is for... what system is this for? It doesn't say. So let's fit to width. Alright, good people of Theros, it was a great shame that I write this note. My name is Kolthus Mattel. I am and have been undertaker at St. Belrin Cemetery since my father passed this responsibility on to me. Recently, I've been finding that some of the graves have been defiled. At the first, I thought this might be grave robbers, and went to the authorities. Then have reinforced security outside the cemetery to dissuade them. But now I fear something more unnatural. I'm too old to affront. That's supposed to be confront, not confront, not affront. Affront is like an insult and/or yeah, basically an insult to. I'm too old to confront this. Please, if some brave soul would help me investigate, I'll make sure the effort is worthwhile. So basically, looking for unnatural stuff in a cemetery. Interesting. Alright, let's see. I'm not seeing... There's no stats involved. So let me see if this is this associated with anything? Legends of Elden role-playing game. So it's going to be a standalone role-playing game of some sort. Legends of Elden. I have no idea what that is. But overall, I like the map. It's very simple. It's very clean. It's also extremely linear. So what you've got here is a main hall. After descending the spiral staircase, PCs find themselves in a dark and luxurious hallway. So you've got this hallway. Down here you've got a secondary crypt with members of the family that are buried there. Some of the caskets have been opened by the ghouls while searching for sustenance, but there aren't any there. The Honor Crypt, this is an unopened casket. Ita's Tears, the statue represents an avatar of the icon Ita, which is specific to the Legends of Elden thing. that holds a basin of water. Despite the fact that it's been stagnant, this water still looks crystal clear. You've got the main crypt here, where a pair of ghouls have made this room to their new permanent residence. And they're dressed in the clothes and personal effects of the most prominent members of the Yobrick family. And finally, here you got a tertiary crypt, which is corpses that are too old to be of use of the ghouls. And then an exit to the cemetery. Or an exit to the city sewers. If cornered into a fight, the ghouls will attempt to use this passage to flee, but since they're in here, that means they'd have to run and go around there, which is okay. At least there's some, you know, some general ability for that to happen, which is better than nothing. It's not a bad little adventure for a one-page adventure, I'll give it that. And even though it's specific to this, I suppose you could use this for basically anything just by popping a couple of ghouls in there. Just 2 monsters, not that big of an adventure. Right. So that was the Graveyard Shift. What is next? Children of Inrath. And this one's free. This one's coming up free. And I believe that's because this was associated with a Kickstarter, and I think the Kickstarter might be ended because this was like weeks ago. Doc's Mad Lab Games. It was for some sort of horror thing. I believe this is 5th edition. And that was a while back. I covered it on my RPG News Roundup. And this is just associated with... I think it was some sort of jungle setting. I'm not entirely sure. We'll find out. So let's see what we got here. You got your credits here. Published by Doc's Mad Lab Games. It's 41 pages, so it's actually one of the longer ones that we're looking through tonight, but I'm not going to look through every single element of it. Inrath was a goddess of suffering for the High Elves. When the mothers trapped the goddess to siphon her powers, it left the High Elf pantheon unbalanced. This caused the lives of the elves to be extended even longer than they can remember. While elves continue to produce children, they do not age nor die as they should. This has led to an overabundance of mature adults, resulting in their expansionist ways. The Mbelekta Empire has ravaged many lands, leaving them desiccated husks. Alright, so, let me take a look at this. Because I believe this adventure is designed for a typical D20 style game for 2 to 4 characters of 3rd level. This adventure is set on the continent of Threshen, making the savage jungles of Threshen an invaluable resource for the game master. And that was the one that was being kickstarted. I wonder if it's still being kickstarted. Give me a sec. I wonder if that Kickstarter's still live. Because I remember being like moderately impressed with that. Not super impressed with it, but moderately so. Let me pop open my my search engine real quick. That is an October Kickstarter. A 5e campaign canceled by creator. So apparently this was canceled. Wah wah. Probably because it wasn't making much in the terms of pledges and stuff. I'm wondering, does that mean this is even live? Let me take a look. I may be covering something that's been taken down since then. I don't want to do that. No, it's still up. It's still free. So, we'll see. Sometimes these campaigns just don't get together. You know, these Kickstarter campaigns just don't click. And sometimes people cancel them and restart them with a more modest goal. I think the goal for this one, I remember it was a little bit on the high side for what it was. And this should not be 6. This should be 7. Let me edit the title real quick. I just realized that. It should be 7. There we go. Boop. Inrath was the goddess. I've covered that. Cast of characters. You've got captain of a sailing ship. You've got an Mbelekta officer in charge of war security. I believe that's a local. District Commander Gilmora is a commander of the 13th District. She's an elven female of indeterminate age. Dakon is an Mbelekta Archmage. He's an elven male. See, a lot of these are elves because apparently The background story is that the elves are expansionist and have come onto this continent to settle, apparently, and or to conquer. You got a tiefling female, 12 years of age, who is indigenous to the region, Dorwala. Jan the Wanderer is a warlord and controlled the major city of Inkosi. He's also a former officer in the largest navy in the world, the Kasagor Armada. So, you got a interesting little mix of characters there. Outline: the adventurers arrive aboard the sailing ship, the Madrich. The player characters are charged with smuggling along with the crew of the Madrich. They are taken into custody and will now have to face the consequences. The adventurers are forced into servitude, and they must prove their innocence and earn back their freedom. Dorwala, they meet Dorwala. Dorwala is familiar with the surrounding lands and is actually works as like a guide. The first night they set camp, they meet Jan the Wanderer, so that completes your cast of characters as described in the beginning. And then, once they break camp, the group leaves the road and enters the jungle. And once they reach the temple, they need to navigate. So it's kind of like a guided trek through some wilderness to a temple dungeon. Alright. So this just covers the arrival, and they get to decide whether they're charged with smuggling, whether they like it or not. And so they can fight or just get... if the heroes try to resist, remind them that they are seriously outnumbered and facing a trained fighting force. And of course, because most adventure groups are just going to go ahead and fight, they go ahead and fight then. So it's basically put onto they're captured and put directly onto the railroad right out of the gate. Okay. Assuming the player characters agree to help Gilmora and retrieve the item, he gives them their instructions. Assuming they don't, I guess it's just game over and they get thrown in prison or whatever. You got a basic town map. I've seen better. I've drawn better. This is kind of a sad town map. You get Ancient Road. You get goings on the road. It's mostly for role playing. Not a lot of combat or puzzle stuff. You have a wandering monster table. I do like that. It's very basic wandering monsters. I see that the Kickstarter for the main campaign of this didn't meet its goal in it. I'm not really impressed with the adventure that I'm seeing so far. Let me put a link to it just in case. Let me put a link to it. I'll put a link to this in the chat. Assuming I can actually, copy text and paste it. There you go. This is free, but I got to be honest. It's the other one, the one-page dungeon with 2 monsters, seemed to be a little bit better put together than this, and I'm kind of seeing why it didn't meet its goals. I like the artwork, but the layout needs a little bit of work. Let's skip to the dungeon part, because this is just like random encounters in the wild before that. As they enter the temple, the first room is massive. Is there a map? Let me take a look. Is there a map? Yes, there's a map. Oh my god. Okay, I guess that's a decent map, but it's good for virtual tabletop compatibility right out of the bat. I will give it that. But again, it's kind of boring. I mean, I hate to say it, but if you want to kickstart something, you need to make it like really pop. And oddly enough, boring is... Let me take it. I like boring stuff, but at the same time, it's like, if you really want to stand out, you got to put some... Make it visually interesting, and this is... I'm not finding this visually interesting. I'm finding... I'm like, this is the kind of map I'd expect to see in the... like in the sample maps of a of a virtual tabletop game. You got Crypt Marauders. They are just that's your main enemy as soon as you enter the crypt. Take a look. You got a unique item, an obsidian dagger, but it has a chance to break or get ruined. You have the Corridor of Carnage. Paired statues each face each other a few feet down the hallway. So that would be number 2 right in here. Right in the middle here. Whoops. Right in the middle here. That would be number 2. All right. So it's up to the game master's discretion which of these statues is trapped, but the following table helps make this determination. So it is kind of like maybe they're trapped, maybe they're not, depending on how much you want to mess with the players, which is okay. It's okay. List of statues. It gives you a list of each statue. You got dragon head busts, gnoll statues armed with axes, viper head busts. And they have traps, and it's not on a per statue basis. You can decide which statue is which. I like that part. I like that part. The altar room, which is supposed to be spelled with an A. Editor, where are you? Okay, altar room. Now they spelled it right here. Spelled correctly there, spelled incorrectly there. The echoes of the stone door, thumping to the ground, rumble through the stale air of the temple. There is a large stone statue against the far side of this chamber with 4 arms. 2 of his hands are covering his face, while his other 2 arms are stretched towards you as if he might embrace you. Before your very eyes, the stone statue starts to stir. Allow the players a perception check to take in the surroundings of the altar, again misspelled, room, but they roll at disadvantage due to having to contend with the Grand Overseers. Depending on how well they roll, they may see the following, etc., etc. Where is the Grand Overseer? The Grand Overseer, who has officially appeared to be a stone statue against the far wall, comes to life. Does he attack? I guess he... Wait, what? The stat block for the Grand Overseer is listed below. Where? How far below? All the way down here. It's the statue of face palming. Okay, so from what I can tell, you have a construct. And a pretty tough construct, but not out of the realms of impossibility at that level. And you get... What does he do, though? So there's also a... Alright, this is Altar Room 3. This is in here. So there's also a puzzle along the back wall involving these statues and these statues. And possibly the main statue. On the back wall of the chamber are 4 alcoves, 2 on the left, 2 on the right. The Grand Overseer was originally positioned between them with 2 alcoves on either side, so he's the main statue here, I guess. Alright. Each alcove is decorated with mysterious symbols annotating the 4 elements. So it's an elemental puzzle, which I'm not fond of, but I can see it. Each alcove is decorated with mysterious symbols annotating the 4 elements, represented by corresponding stone. The red stone represents the element of fire. The white stone represents air, brown is earth, and blue is water. If a stone is placed in the wrong alcove, the stone seems to slip right back out, falling. If the proper stone has been placed in the matching alcove, it will glow briefly and stay in place. Once all stones have been placed in the corresponding alcove, they grow brighter for an instant, then stop glowing. Solving the puzzle will return the Grand Overseer and his batons to their original starting points, assuming they have not been destroyed. Additionally, solving the puzzle will cause the stone door at the entrance to reopen, as well as opening a smaller secret revealing the treasure room. So that's how you get out and how you get treasure. But where's the treasure room? Okay. So I gotta figure this out. Where? Let me scroll down a little bit. That is the Grand Overseer, which looks very little like that, but I guess that does look like that. It's not a bad thing to put in your stuff. The treasure room is number 4. 4 magical items. The Traveler's Canteen, which is it purifies water. The Blind Map is a scroll that helps you trace the exact route you traveled previously. So it's basically the Outlander feat. The Stone of Everburning is a dark orange stone that appears to ever burn, or to be ever burning, but does not put off heat. Put off here. Editor, where are you? Spell checking is not proofreading. Okay? Spell checking is not editing. Spell checking is just the first element, and then you have to go through and actually read everything. Simply touch the... If placed under tinder, even damp tinder, it will spark and ignite, so you can always have a fire. Those are interesting little things, but there's 4 magic items. Where's the 5th one? Oh, box of provender. Small wooden box adorned with simple steel bands. Inside is a single piece of ripe fruit. If anyone were to take a single bite of the fruit, they are completely nourished. So it's basically almost like good berry, except no healing. Okay. Further into the treasure room is a tall statue holding a sickle, and that one has the box. Alright. And Dorwalla immediately asks for the box, I guess. So they can give her that box of like free food. That's okay. And then once the box is positioned under the decorative carving arching the entrance to the altar room, clear crystal embedded there glows red, and the door that originally opened at the beginning of the Carnage begins sliding shut. And then a boulder trap is revealed. So on the way out, and that's the entrance to the altar room. So let's take a look. So you come over here. Whoops, hold on. You come over here, get the box, you exit here, and then when you get to this point, then the boulder falls here, and you have to like run all the way to the entrance. That's not a bad little trick. I like that part. What's this last room? The mirror room. So if they get trapped in the temple, they can go to the mirror room and try to get out. Okay. So, a new playable species. The Imbali. Ancient constructs that were brought to life. So it's like a playable creature. Neat. And these are your generic characters that you fight. Okay. So overall, boring adventure. Decent dungeon crawl at the end of the adventure. With some neat little tricks, but with a boring map design. Not too bad. Not too bad for a free product. Needs an editor, though. Definitely needs an editor. So what do I got next? Aside from very few viewers. I see people keep peeking in and out. It's completely understandable. Let me, I get this feeling that some days I'm not going to have viewers just because I stream it at the same time that other much larger and more interesting people streams. So I got to start getting that in check. Within the Cursed Mine is a pay-what-you-want product. It is within the Cursed Mine. Oh, this is a big one. This is another big one. This one has virtual tabletop battle maps included. Neat. Okay. It's only 9 pages. Sandbox adventure. Within the Cursed Mine. Fit one full page. From Headless Hydra Press. 5th edition adventure. Written by Shane Collins. Apparently they got a Patreon. It's patreon.com/headlesshydra-press if you want to take a look at more of their stuff. But I'll put the link to where you can get this one on DriveThruRPG. It is a pay-what-you-want product, as always. If you like it, remember to... if you end up liking it and using it, remember to try and kick back some to people. So you've got a local region, local hex map. It's a basic hex crawl map. Background. 100 years ago, Longhorn Cavern was a prosperous, though perilously maintained iron mine. No comment necessary. Editor, where the hell are you tonight? Prone to cave-ins and attacks from orc clans, it was finally abandoned. Since then, the mine has made an attractive lair for various monsters, most recently, a vicious cave hydra. Also calling the cavern home is a local outlaw, Nil Hawken. A nearly inaccessible section of the cavern makes a convenient hideout, and a cave hydra is a good deterrent against would-be bounty hunters. So it's designed for 3rd level party to be completed in 1 to 2 sessions. travel just deals with the hex crawl around it. It's got random encounter charts for that. Once you get to the mine, it does have a description of the stuff within the mine. It's a non-lighted mine. That's nice. If there's fighting inside, there's a 10% chance of a minor cave-in, which gives some degree of danger to fighting everything, which is something to be considered in dangerously underkept mining areas. If the PCs are loud, the Hydra will become aware of their presence. That's another danger. I like dungeons that give that incentive, shall we say, to not have major loud fights. All right, at the mine's entry. Okay, you've got A, B, C. All right, these are for the map. Where's the map? Okay, so here's the map. It's not a big mine. Got entrance, a side tunnel, a tunnel with a cave-in, a dead end. Okay. Very simple mining thing. You've got a nature check to reveal unusual tracks in the grass, so you get some hints as to what's to come. You get a thick wall, a well-crafted stone... Hold on a second. Sorry about that. Okay. A thick, well-crafted stone door that appears at odds with the rough-hewn stone cavern appears around the corner. That's a B, which is over here, and it's got a collapse behind it. It's locked and only opens for someone the same race who built the mine, which is a dwarf, I guess. If the door opens, the party discovers a substantial cave-in. Okay. The path ahead is blocked by a cave-in. Chunks of rock and boulders block any chance of getting through, so you got another cave-in. So it turns this looping map, which was interesting, into a linear map, which is not so interesting. Although I guess understandable if H is going to be like a boss creature. Yeah, the Hydra is at H. So the big Hydra is big here, right here. So this is just a basic linear dungeon crawl. It's got branching corridors, but no meaningful choices. You're going 1, 2... 3, 4, possibly 5, maybe optional, 6, 7. So F looks like it's completely optional because you got a stone at E. Let me take a look. A partial tunnel collapse ahead has left a huge boulder and some rubble against the side of the tunnel. And there is a way around the boulders to a side tunnel. So F is completely optional, and that's where the bandit is, right? Yeah. Nil is sound asleep when the players come in. She's just successfully looted the crate of spices and drank herself into a stupor the night before. So there's your optional treasure. It's very linear. One may say somewhat boring. And there are arcane crystals. Page 6. Wondrous magic item. 1 crystal per character, so it's an adaptable loot setting. Hold on. So, adaptable loot. The arcane crystals... roughly the size of a dagger's pommel. If the crystal is thrown or dropped... As an action, a magic user can absorb the magical energy from the crystal and recover spell slots. And if it's thrown or dropped, each creature in a 15-foot sphere must make a constitution saving throw. So they can turn into magical grenades, basically. Or to be used to restore your caster's spell casting. That's not too bad. It's got all the basics of a decent adventure. I'm not pleased with how linear it is. They took this perfectly good looping map and turned it completely linear. And I know some people like that kind of... I know some people like that basic... Was it 5-room dungeon or whatever, where you got your boss creature, your intro, your false lead, your trap/special, and your secret. And then they just put it like on a linear path. I'm not a big fan of that. I like meaningful choices and exploration, and a lot of modern mini dungeon. Like, I know it's hard to do on a small dungeon, but still, you know, some sort of meaningful choice would be fun. So yeah, that was within the cursed mine. I like the art and the presentation. The art and the presentation's not bad. All right, what do we got next? The Little Barbershop of Terror. Let's see what this is. This is another pay what you want offering. Little Barbershop of Terror from John Large. It's designed for old school essentials, which I've been looking into, although I have not had a time to properly review it yet. Come in for a quick snip, and the cut might be closer than you would like. So it's just a barber. It's got more. Wait, it's got. What the? Hold on a second. It's got 18 pages. But is this designed to be like... Yeah, this is designed to be like collated into a proper book. Oh, God. Except not really, because here's what you've got. You've got the barbershop ground. You've got the map and the key. And then you've got the credits. Then the table of contents. So it's a short adventure. Begins with an investigation surrounding a mysterious murder of a nobleman called Lord Warwick Applestone. The investigation leads to a small barbershop run by one Henley Stroud, a businessman who borrowed money from Lord Applestone, or Appletone, my bad, I don't know why I said Applestone, to establish his business and is struggling to pay it back. So already you've got like a reason why this guy might want to do this dude in. Because he owes him money. Not a bad adventure. This adventure is designed for use with a basic expert version of the world's most well-known fantasy role-playing game or similar retro clones. I like how some people don't put the world's most popular RPG in there anymore. They just say well-known. Little Barbershop of Terror is designed for PCs of levels 1 to 3. So... Campaign assumptions. This adventure assumes an urban setting, which is okay. You can plug it into basically any campaign. What if I don't have any cities? If your campaign doesn't have any large urban areas, the adventure may require some tweaking to fit it in. Or just pick another adventure, honestly. If you're trying to like shoehorn an urban adventure into a non-urban setting, I don't know what to tell you. Alright. So... naming conventions to certain background elements. Got the watch. And these are very general, so you can sub them in for whatever your own campaign uses. I like that. So let's see. Lord Warwick Appletone. The adventure begins with the murder of a prominent member of the noble family, is known as Lord Appletone. He's got old money. He's a wealthy investor, and by any means necessary, not above using underhanded means to make sure he gets a return on his investments. Stroud's Barbershop, borrowed money. It's a new premises, so it's a relatively new shop. And in debt to Lord Appletone, the murdered victim. Unbeknownst to most, Stroud is also a practicing magic user, but keeps his abilities secret for fear of rousing a mob against him. He specializes in sympathetic magic, using items associated with people to gain influence over them, and he's a barber, so yeah, he's got access to all kinds of people's tokens. Whilst exploring a poor part of the city, Stroud stumbled across an occult tome that claimed to show how to create a creature from cast-off body parts and imbue it with life energy. Alright. The owner of the barbershop is also skilled, as many barbers were at the time, in performing minor surgeries. During a bloodletting on a relatively poor patient, Stroud accidentally killed the patient and, fearful of the consequences, concealed the body in the basement below his barbershop. For weeks, Stroud was paranoid that his crime would be discovered. Stroud realized that, due to the low social class of his victim, he seemed to have gotten away with the murder. It's not... I don't know if it's accidental, it's manslaughter. Eager to ensure a swift return on his investment, Lord Appletone sent one of his thugs to clear Stroud from the danger. The thug, a man by the name of Bartley Grupt, roughed up Stroud, and after the thug had left, Stroud discovered a chunk of hair that had been pulled from the man's head during the struggle. Taking the hair to his basement, Stroud used the body of his earlier victim and the hair from Grupt to construct a creature that would carry out... Okay, this guy went from, like, sympathetic victim to, oh my god. That is hilarious, actually. A hair golem. Lord Appletone heard about the death of his agent and was quite affected by it. In fear for his life, in the last week of his life, following the murder of Grumps, Lord Appletone became increasingly paranoid about his safety. Once he'd secured another victim to animate his creature, Stroud dispatched the creature to kill Lord Appletone. So this guy went from like, oh my god, he may be sympathetic, to wow, he just went to straight up murder. He went from like a victim of circumstance to manslaughter to straight up murder. That's an odd track. So you've got a hair golem. Alright, so this just tells you what the golem's like. These are tips that you can find in rumors, because it is an investigation. And as an investigation, it can pose some difficulties when you're running it. So this is less like a keyed place and more like things that you can find. I like this setup. I'm not going to go over it with a fine-tooth comb. You've got the Appletone estate itself, where you go ahead and investigate the murder. You've got the Red Lion, a small tavern. You got the Thieves Guild itself. Where does the tavern come in? Harriet summoned the watch. Oh, here we go. William Botham, a gardener. He frequents a tavern called the Red Lion. So Grupt also drinks there. So I guess that gives you like an out to go look at the tavern. You got other places of interest where you may not be looking for. It's got clues, but these are mostly places you might visit. Stroud's Barber Surgeons. A 2-story wooden building. That's just the district it's in. It gives you rumors. This is the key for the actual barber place. So he's neutral. The enemy and like the villain, quote unquote, in this is neutral. But he's like some sort of weird golem creator. Okay. Hold on a second. So he's got a servant called Aston. What's about Aston? Because I'm looking at this, and if Stroud gets caught, he gets tried, convicted, and then a couple days later, his servant disappears, never to be seen again. Did his servant have something to do it? It says straight up Stroud did it. But I guess the servant will carry on or something? Aston is stolen away. This is potential expansions. Okay, so it leaves like a back door for the open adventure. I like this. I'm not usually into investigation type stuff, but I like this one. This is Little Barbershop of Terror. To pay what you want offering for old school essentials. I actually like that one. So what's next? Prison of the Hated Pretender. Prison of the Hated Pretender. Give me a sec. Let me actually get it open. What is this? By Gus L. from Hydra Cooperative. What's all these Hydra type stuff? Like the second company I've read something about that has something to do with Hydras. Give me a second. I gotta check something real quick. Okay. Sorry about that. Alright, so adventure presentation for open-ended use. This is a 21-page adventure. It is a small adventure offering a portent-laden beginning to an adventuring career. The adventure is pedagogical, teaching players the lessons of caution and retreat, crucial to a long and successful adventuring career. I like that. The prison contains several traps and monsters that can kill a first-level character, but the traps are well marked, and the monsters easily escaped. Another thing I like. Risks are bolded and underlined, rewards are bolded and italicized, and interesting features are simply bolded. No read aloud or box text is offered. Description is purely for the players, obscures important facts, divorced from the GM's natural voice. So it's an old school style thing for first level characters. But what is this? A 5th edition thing? I don't know. Give me a second. This is Prison of the Hated Pretender. It is... What is this for? It says it's for both D&D and old school stuff. So it may be compatible with both. From Hydra Cooperative. And have I put the link in yet? I don't think I have. No, I haven't. Here's a link. Assuming I can page to the right place. Alright, here's the link in chat. Alright. So you've got a hamlet of scabrous yokels. That's just farmers and broken huts. Wait, Broken Huts is the name of the village, of the hamlet? It's just called Broken Huts? What kind of place would you have to live in where you would name it yourself, or your name your settlement that? The community's entire worth is 68 gold. Only 2 gold in coins, 20 gold of tools. So they got like, I'm assuming most of the coins are going to be copper and silver. And the majority of loot is turnip wine and hundreds of pounds of root vegetables. If raised, the huts will be rebuilt in a few weeks, and when the first vats of turnips ferment, Broken Huts will return to its depressing normal. That's actually kind of sad. Havens are factions and should not be entirely static. Broken Huts is a horrible place, but a reasonably safe quote-unquote haven where characters can rest between adventures. This doesn't mean that it is not a living community or that the players can't decide to destroy it. A GM should know what military resources even the safest of havens has. Broken Huts may have nothing, but players can always draw its ire, rally to its defense, improve its prospects, or encourage a hostile faction to destroy it. This is true, and this is something I don't often see a lot of times. In my Black Ridge Barony campaign, they're currently working to secure the goodwill and security of a few small hamlets. Nothing this small, though. Odd. The Prison of the Hated Pretender is located about an hour north of Broken Hut's last dusty turnip field, a popular destination for drunken dares and a popular topic for local gossip. So anyone in Broken Huts can reveal that the prison is a small, sculptural tower built many years ago by an army of fanatical soldiers led by an inquisitor in a beak-faced mask and feathered robe. Okay. So let's take a look at this. You got your base of operations. You got your rumor table. You've got your adventure hooks. Many old-style adventures include false rumors. Doing so is a matter of taste, but I find false rumors waste playtime. A false rumor that exposes characters to danger when they act on it is like a trap, but it often lacks sufficient information for the players to detect it and avoid it. What I like to do with some false rumors, I like to incorporate false rumors from time to time, although I rarely have recently. But what I like to do with false rumors is instead of leading characters into a trap, lead them into an encounter with the wrong expectations, but not necessarily that won't kill them. And that might be a good way to use false rumors. Either that or skip them entirely. But if every rumor you hear is true, then I guess you never know, man. Factions within the prison. The tower is a magical prison for a hated tyrant. The prison's ecology is simple. The hated pretender, somewhat capable of being reasoned with, is hunted by phantasms of vengeance. The phantasms roam the tower freely in daylight and feed at night. This cycle is why the hated pretender hides in Area 6 during the day. The hated pretender is a durable undead, immune to charms, etc. He's got 3 hit dice. Not too bad. If his body isn't completely destroyed, he arises again when the moon next sets. So the hated pretender is now a pitiful undead wretch. Alright, so he roams at night. The phantasms of vengeance are basically instruments of law. half a hit die. Very, very poor stats otherwise. They're Celestials, not undead, and can only be turned by clerics whose abilities affect Celestial, Angelic, or similar entities. So basically, chaotic clerics. Alright, so let's take a look at this. Oh, each phantasm has its own unique appearance. Neat. Here's the map. Here's the map. So you've got 4 levels. You've got the ground floor, you got the upper floor, the roof, and then you got the crypt below. And the hated pretender hides in room 6, which is a tiny room on the upper floor with a door. So you got the face of the tower, outdoor lighting, dungeon entrance, and I like this because it's got like advice for new DMs here. I like that. I like that. It gives you advice for the dungeon masters. All right. Puzzles and traps. The entry chamber is area 2. And it has a circle of wards on the floor. Area 3 has a museum of horror. It's filled with phantasms most of the day. It's got carvings in poor condition. And then it just gives you... Most of this adventure seems very straightforward, but it is designed with teaching new DMs and players in mind. But it's very, very much slanted towards the towards the author's particular biases on running certain adventures, which is okay. I mean, that's okay. At least they go out and say it, like they give details on why they don't like things or why they design certain things a certain way. All right, landing. That's what on area 4 is a landing. That's on the 2nd level. So that's, what? Dim outdoor lighting. So I guess there's a window there or whatever. You've got more phantasms. You got a solarium next door. More phantasms. The Pretender's Abode, which is area 6. Which is where he usually hides in the day. It's got some moderate money, mostly low value coin and a gem. And it's got like guidelines on how to run combat, how to check morale. This is all very nice for like teaching type stuff. Gives you the idea that you don't have to lead to combat every single time. I like this. I mean, the adventure itself is hit or miss. The adventure itself is hit or miss, but it goes into teaching old school gaming very well. I will say that. Then I guess the crypt is like an I guess it's like an optional place. It's got a lot of treasure. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap up. I'm gonna wrap this one up here. It's just a straightforward OSR. It's just a straightforward OSR offering, but designed for teaching new people play, and I like that. All right, next is Calypso, which I don't know what it is. Calypso. I don't even remember what this is. It's 119 pages. I'm not going to go through this in depth. Calypso is a pay what you want offering. I will link it in the chat. Calypso is soloing, powered by the Apocalypse. So I guess it's powered by the Apocalypse solo offering. Got your inspirations. The artwork. Let me get this. Max to page. Fit one full page. I've looked through this before because I don't look through it in depth, but I always scan these real quick to make sure that they don't have anything that's going to get me in trouble on YouTube. It's got that kind of that art style. It's not going to appeal to everybody, but I kind of like it. It's more like a, what do you call that? Well, it's got some different stuff too, but it's got like a lot of this really abstract kind of semi-abstract stuff. And I've got a problem with a font. Okay. So what is Calypso? I'm going to scan it real quick. It's designed for solo gaming. It's support an open-ending, strongly narrative style of solo gaming. Which is funny because I'm like I'm honestly not a huge fan of purely narrative systems, which is why while I like the old school stuff, I prefer like old school with a founding in like classical rules. I'm not a big fan of narrative systems purely per se. So in terms of solo role playing, I can guarantee you this game's not for me, because it's not only on a powered by the apocalypse thing, which I'm not a big fan of. It's also a solo gaming, which I am a big fan of, but a solo narrative gaming. If I'm going to write, I'm just going to write. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to stick around this one. It's a writing. It's basically writing with a game engine behind it. And I'm not really seeing any sort of basic setting. Well, let's take a look at the basic scenario level, or page 15. This all explains the rules of the game, and they're based on the powered by the apocalypse stuff. If you're familiar with that, then that should let you know what to expect. If you're not familiar with that, I'm not going to go over it. I'm sorry, but that's a topic for like another video. But yeah, this is very much just powered by the apocalypse stuff. But I just want to know what the overall setting is, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. The basic scenario. That's just a scenario write-up. I'm not seeing what this is supposed to be, aside from like what kind of setting does this use? I don't think this is not a setting of specific stuff. It's just purely like your own solo mental fiction. So this is a writing tool mostly. This is attempting to adapt a role-playing game to a writing tool. I'm not going to cover more of this, but it is what it is. If it seems like it's interesting for you, I've got the link in chat. But I'm not going to sit here and talk about how to adapt a role-playing game to writing, because that is a topic for like a completely different video. I should have looked at that more in depth before I came on here. Next is the Grim Quest, which actually has a couple adventures included with it, but I'm just going to cover like the main book here. The Grim Quest. I'm going to put a link in the chat. The Grim Quest, a new and exciting all-ages role-playing game set in the Grim Forest universe. There are 3 exciting sessions, which I'm not going to look at in depth, but they're only a couple pages each. In fact, this thing is only 7 pages. This system differs from many RPGs because it is intentionally designed to engage players of all ages, which is mostly children, because when you design a adventure for anything besides children, it's just assumed that people can do it. And I don't understand that, because I started RPGs with the basic set when I was like freaking like 9 or 8 or whatever. So like the original D&D you could get into very young. And while I understand, like, trying to appeal to very young children, you know, I'm not sure how productive that is in terms of dumbing things down. Now, I do like the fairy tale setting, but you can use fairy tale settings with, like, standard role-playing game design. So let's go ahead and take a look. Besides, hardcore D&D or hardcore dungeon crawling stuff teaches children important life lessons, like life sucks, and sometimes you can't avoid things, and to always keep trying. You know. Anyway, I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent there. You are about to become a famous character out of fairy tales and go on an adventure. If there's something you want to do, say what it is. Your character can do and say whatever you want them to. You know what this reminds me of? I don't mean to shit on this product, because I actually like this product. But what that tone reminds me of, and it's something I need to cover someday. Did anybody see the old, or did anybody ever hear the old AD&D 2nd edition, like, CD audio tutorial? It was like the AD&D introductory stuff from way back when in the 90s. I gotta do that sometime. It's almost like Dragon Strike, except for AD&D in terms of the cheesiness quality. If you ever get a chance, look it up. I'm not gonna say where, but if you ever get a chance perusing the internet somewhere, look it up, because it is hilarious. And it is called, let me take a look at this. It is called, let me get into my stuff here. Introduction to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons audio CD. And it's actually AD&D 2nd edition. It came with like a quick start book, but it was like all cheesy, and it had things like that. Well, it's a game of imagination, with your typical people chiming in. Imagination? What do you mean? It's worth going over sometime. I kind of want to actually like do a commentary online sometime of it, but I'm afraid that I don't know what the deal is with the copyright stuff. I might try to do that sometime. I might put that on as like a secondary channel or something. I kind of want to put it on my main channel. I'll deal with that later. Let's get back to this. Okay, this is basically introduction to role-playing for very small children. So this is for first-time GMs. Also for very small children GMs, which I like. And it gives you your basic GMing rules. You know, focus on fun. Read through it at least once. Engage your players. Adjust the adventure to the needs of your playgroup, which is always important. If your players are ever stuck and do not know what to do, you can always offer suggestions for them to try, which I do from time to time, unless being stuck is the actual struggle. You can also reward the players with bonus dice as a reward for good role-playing. Nice. So what does this do? An adventure is made up of several encounters, of course. These challenges represent difficult situations which require a party to use their traits to overcome some obstacle. Below is an example where Cinderella needs to swim across a dangerous river. So you got a difficulty, a weakness. Cleverness will help Cinderella will find a safe route around the river. This encounter has a difficulty of 2, meaning Cinderella needs 2 successes to complete it. So it's like a success-based thing rather than a difficulty-based thing. She could use this using power, cleverness, or bravery. Because this encounter is weak against cleverness, if Cinderella decides to use that trait to pick a careful route across the river, her first success will count as 2 successes and defeat the challenge with 1 roll. Nice. So actions take place in rounds during an encounter. It's all very simplified, which I like for like younger audiences. Okay, stats are the character's skill levels and certain traits. They got 3 stats: power, cleverness, and bravery. Power is a mix of magical ability, strength, and speed. Cleverness is smart, stealth, and ability to perceive things, and bravery is courage, daring, and constitution. When you have to see if a character can do something, you roll a 6-sided die equal to your stat, plus or minus any bonuses you have. Stats represent the number of dice you get to roll on a test. So if you've got like a 4 in power, then you roll 4 dice. After you roll a test, look at your roll results, compare the face of the dice, and split them into categories. Fail, none of the dice match each other. Success, 2 of the dice match each other. Epic success, 3 or more of them match each other. So if you have 2, you have to roll doubles in order to succeed on anything. That sucks. But if you have 4, then that's still not good odds. This is a system designed to like have people fail. That's hilarious. It's a system geared towards small children, but mathematically they're like more, unless they're really, really good at something, they're more likely to fail. That's awesome. Design a system where children are mathematically more likely to fail. That's funny. You can either give a bonus dice to a player, or they can use a magic point to use it on magic abilities. Okay. Oh, wait. So this encourages teamwork. When you fail a test, you can either give a bonus die to another player, or you can add a magic point to the group magic pool. So from failure comes some success. And while that doesn't follow true in all things, the best way to learn from things is to fail. So this teaches kids that it's okay to fail from time to time, which is an important lesson. Epic success. Gives you rules for that. Magic abilities. Hold on. Each character has a special ability unique to them. These abilities are activated by spending magic points from the group magic pool. So you get a shared magic pool. Alright. Next is group tests. When a group might be trying to escape a pack of wolves, so they do a group power test. Each player performs a power test and Pinocchio fails. The GM might explain this by saying Pinocchio trips and causes the other players to fail, or that he falls behind. So a group test means that they all have to succeed, which is a good way, which is pretty hilarious considering the overall success rules. Defensive tests. Alright. So I guess... yeah, it doesn't look like combat is a big part of this game. It's all about defending from things, which I guess is understandable if you're catering to small children. Yeah, the Grim Quest is not a bad thing. I mean, it's only 7 pages. And it's got a couple adventures. I'm going to eyeball one of them. I'm not going to look at all of them. Red Riding Hood's delivery service. That's the kind of adventure you get in here. And you basically have basic tests for that. I like this. I like this. It would be good for dealing with small children. Unless you want to stick them directly into, like, you know, some sort of, like, deadly dungeon crawl. Which I would do. But, no, the Grim Quest is not a bad system for what it is. I will say that. Alright, let's go to an adventure. The Observatories of Nerak. This is... another pay what you want offering. The Observatories of Nerak. And this has... I don't know what's going on here. Hold on a second. Sorry, something came up. Okay, this is from Caesar Inc. The Observatories of Nerak and the Fallen Star. But what is this for? Like this is only 4 pages. What is it for? I don't even know what this is. The Observatories of Nerak were established by ancient elves in order to observe the heavens. So there's a dragon. Oh, wait a minute. There's got to be some maps somewhere. Hold on. I don't have the maps on me, do I? Let's take a look at that link real quick. Let me see if I got maps that I neglected to download. The Observatories of Nerak is for any system / system agnostic. And yes, there is a map pack / PDF, which I will open. Give me a moment. Alright, here is the map pack. Alright, it's only one page. This is your map, ladies and gentlemen. This is your map. I like the art, but I guess it's just like you are here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that goes up there. And then 5 is over here if you go across this bridge. 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now, there's something about a dragon. That's the moon dragon. Library of Was is 1. So these are just rooms. I don't know if I like this event. Yeah, it's supposed to be system neutral. I don't know what to say about this. This is more like a writing sample. This is like a writing and art sample. There's like almost nothing in the way. Yeah, there's almost nothing in the way of puzzles or anything. This is just more like a writing sample with a piece of artwork. Take that as you will. That was Observatories of Narak. Let's move on to something more interesting. Tomb of the Serpent Kings, a free offering. This is for a system called Bastard Sword, which I've heard a lot about recently, but I have not played. Tomb of the Serpent Kings. But I thought I'd go ahead and take a look at the adventure, even so. By Scorpels, for use with index card RPG course. So Bastard Sword is an index card RPG geared towards, I believe, dungeon crawling and or medieval fantasy. Okay. So you start up with a map. So it's like 40 pages something. The map, it's not by Dyson Logos, even though it may look like it. It's done in that similar style, which I enjoy. That's a pretty nice little complex dungeon. As you can see, I'm not going to go through this with a fine-tooth comb, because it's for a system I don't play, and it looks a bit complex. It's designed for experienced GMs with new players, GMs who want to learn more about dungeon design, and experienced GMs with experienced players but who are new to OSR-style content. So not expert GMs with expert players. Chances are pretty good that an experienced GM will disagree with a few lessons, traps, or encounters in this dungeon. That's completely fine. And they give you options to add features if you prefer to use that in a particular dungeon crawl. And I love that. I love that idea. It's like, yeah, we didn't design it for this style of play, but if you like that style of play, you know, here's how you do it. Nice, nice. All right. Group size and balance, designed for level 1 characters. And again, it's an OSR style system. You get some adventure hooks. Every room, trap, or encounter is designed to teach new players and DMs a useful lesson. So again, we have an educational product, so to speak. It is a buried dungeon with 3 levels and 4 main themed areas, but I only saw 1 level here. Are there more levels? Do I have more levels down here? That's the same map. This is the same map, just with the room descriptions added on. This reminds me of an AD&D 2nd edition, or a D&D Beckme era style product. Yeah, it's just 1 map. It says 3 levels, but... oh, wait, here we go. So it is 3 levels. It's just on different maps, and there's no map to the lower tomb. Alright, so you've got the false tomb that goes in there. Got the upper tomb, which covers these rooms. And it's pretty basic, but I'm not going to go into the details because it does use a system which I'm not familiar with. It does look OSR in terms of like treasure level and simplicity, but it's a system which I have no experience with, so I'm going to skip most of the stats here. But it's got little lessons, little blurbs in there. I like this. Tomb of the Serpent Kings. Do they have options for other OSR systems? Yes, they do. They have this for Castles and Crusades, and they also have this for 5th edition converted. And then they have a print-on-demand version for like general old school stuff. Some of these are a couple years old, so I guess this is a conversion of an older introductory thing. Okay. Alright, so that clears that up a little bit. I do like these little lessons here. Things like valuables sometimes take unconventional forms. Because like the ravings may be valuable if translated or sold to the credulous. So you can actually find like like most people that go through dungeons, they look for like the money and the obvious valuables, but like you can find information and sell that, and that's missed a lot of times. I try to include that in some of my dungeons, and nobody ever like almost nobody ever takes me up on it. Yeah, so this might actually be useful to read. Like they got the 5th edition version and such. Those might be useful to read just for general purposes. Yeah, that's Tomb of the Serpent Kings. That was the Bastard Sword version, but there are other versions out there. I do recommend it. Next one is going to be interesting. Anyway, that one was free, not pay what you want. This one is going to be pay what you want. It is called Cannibal Carnage, a Mork Borg adventure. Now, this is one I've been meaning to look into Mork Borg. Mork Borg is like an OSR style thing, but it's based on like it's got like a metal style, like a death metal style overtone to it. And it's currently put out by like I think Free League Publishing or whatever. This is a third-party style adventure. Cannibal Carnage. It's only 8 pages. As seen on YouTube and Victory Condition Games. I need to work on my channel. I need to work on my channel, man. Master Bellum is known as a Stitcher. A Stitcher is someone that specializes in creating flesh golems. A Stitcher's most valuable possession is known as the Book of Flesh. It is passed from master to apprentice for generations. Bound in skin and written in blood, it is filled with details and rituals of their work. A band of voracious, I think you mean voracious. Editor, where are you? Voracious is hungry. Voracious means truthful. So if it's a band of truthful cannibals, I don't think that works. A band of voracious cannibals broke into Master Bellum's lair and not only took several bodies, but also stole his book of flesh. He calls several of his apprentices and tasks them with retrieving the book. Who knows what abomination these cretins... cretins. I think that's actually misspelled as well. Cretons. Okay. Yes. This band of cretins. Well, who knows what abomination this band of cretins will create. Okay, cretins. In Quebec cuisine, cretins is a force meat style pork spread containing onions and spices. I think they mean cretins with an I. Cretins is a person with cretinism, which is, old school. A person considered to be foolish or unintelligent. So, yeah, editor. Editor. Who edited this? Nobody edited this. Spell check is not editing. For the second time, this particular episode, spell check is not editing. Alright. Alright, anyway, moving onward, he gives you a box from which a faint thumping noise can be heard. Inside contains a still beating heart. He tells them it may help them in their journey. After a week or so of tracking the cannibals, Feel free to throw some random encounters or clues along the way. So you trace them out for a week before you even do anything. Hold on. Coughing up a lung here. When they place the heart into the chest cavity or spill blood onto the tree, because you see a tree. After your journey, you find this tree. The main tree of the trunk is a corpse with its chest split open, revealing its dried up, shriveled organs. This is the entrance to the dungeon. Its heart is the key, or they may offer the tree a blood sacrifice to open the door. Yeah, this is metal, all right. This dungeon revolves around a central point, a door made of flesh. There is no door handle or keyhole. Blood is the key. Any human or animal blood will do, or just smear it on. Just smear it on with a capital O, editor, the door, and the door will open. See, there's no excuse for that. Even a basic grammar check should have highlighted that. This door can be hacked through with a sharp weapon. However, it will quickly begin to heal. Players should move quickly, testing agility to avoid becoming trapped in the healing door. If they do not escape within 1d4 minutes, they will become integrated with the door. They may be cut out of the door, however, they will take 1d4 damage as the door has begun to assimilate the player. Bwaha, ha, 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 ha. I mean, I understand the intent, but... Again, editor. I'm going to be nitpicky here at this point. Player, comma, bwahahaha, or player, period, bwahahaha. Otherwise, that's a run-on sentence. I'm going to be picky here because they angered me. They got like three misspelled words that completely changed the meaning of things in the first paragraph. Yeah, I'm going to be like full on nitpick here. If the players consume anything within the dungeon, a viral toxin begins to slowly course through their body. Over the course of the game, they will become sicker and hungrier. The Dark Overlord, Game Master, decides when they will turn, or they can roll 1d6 for that many in-game hours. If a character dies while infected, they become a zombie cannibal and attack the other players. And I guess this is the layout of the dungeon. It's just like a circular dungeon that goes back to this main door. So it's like a hub. You enter the door and it drops you into one of these rooms seemingly randomly. As the players drop down from above, there is a crunch underneath their feet. You got a room full of insects. You've got a room that's made of flesh. You've got a room that is ripe with the smell of fresh blood, with several tables scattered about, covered with various limbs and body parts. The walls of this room seem to breathe. This room is very cold. The walls seem to shiver, creating a light vibration. And the boss room, which is room number 6, which you could accidentally get in right away. If you rolled 1d6 as soon as you drop through the door, you could drop into the boss room and immediately fight, which is a really funny adventure idea. This room is warm and moist. There is only a small 15 by 15 foot fleshy platform from which to stand upon. The rest of the room is filled with webs of muscle tissue. In front of them sits a large lectern with a book on it. When the players approach the lectern, they are thrown backwards and a massive brain emerges from the center of the webs. Underneath the brain, 2 large eyeballs snake forward. Editor! Jesus Christ! On their optical nerves. See monster stats at the end of this adventure. The massive brain pulsates and throbs. A thick mucus drips slowly from its surface. This monster can only communicate through telepathy. If it is... Sorry, that wasn't the end of a sentence. This monster can only communicate through telepathy if it is threatened or if players try to take the book from the lectern. The players are attacked by tentacles made of nerve endings. Yeah, I think there's a few punctuation marks. Yeah, I'm being an a-hole right now, but I like this. No, don't get me wrong. I like the adventure, but Jesus Christ, please, like, do some basic editing, man. I don't care if it's free. I don't care if it's pay what you want. Have some respect for the written word, man. And then you've got bloated cannibal. What? This is a monster. Stage 1, stage 2. Oh, so you've got... So it's like a... Okay, so it's like a... an old school adventure with phased monsters. Like this bloated cannibal. Like once it takes a certain amount of damage, it turns into this thing where the insides burst out and try to spray you. I've got the brain. And that's what you fight. Alright. So yeah, that was Cannibal Carnage, a Mort Borg adventure. Now it's an okay adventure. I will give it that. It's an okay adventure. I've already put the link in chat. But what it really makes me want to do is like read Mort Borg, whatever you call it. Now I want to get Mort Borg, man. If that's the kind of stuff that it inspires. Alright, next is Sin Curses, a pay what you want thing. And I think this is going to be real brief. I think this is just basically curses to put on your players. Dark Eagle Games presents Sin Curses by John Waltz. Yeah, basic enough. I mean, I can't argue. I guess I can start like... I guess I can start complaining about basic presentation when I actually put my own stuff up. I don't know. If I put my own stuff up on DriveThruRPG, would anybody take a look at it? Greetings. This guide is my 20th. Of all my guides, this is the one I'm most excited to see and play and get feedback. Unlike most of my guides, this one needs more playtesting. Alright. They're being truthful. I admit, I like that. The idea is the creation of minor curses that are given out for committing sins. I like that, too. They are small enough to discourage the actions, but not powerful enough to completely stop them. Alright, so you got, it's a work in progress thing, and this person has, John Waltz has additional guides available. Content marked as the following. Bold print can be found in either the SRD or one of the core books of the 5th edition of the world's most popular pen and paper RPG. Alright. This art is a completely unrelated piece I commissioned for Race and Development. Alright, but at least there's art now. I guess I was stuck in just to put some art into it. Sure, I guess that works. One of your heroes goes into a blasphemer rant against a local god. Another steals from the collection plate at church. Someone decides to poison the wine to kill an enemy, but others will suffer too. And yet another kidnaps and threatens the life of a noble. What should a GM do? I'll tell you what I do is I let him do that and then have them suffer the consequences later. But this is a good way too. Yes, you can explain to them that these are all bad, and that one day there might be a price to pay. Or you can try my new Sin Curse. When the heroes make these evil deeds, when the heroes do these evil deeds, not make these evil deeds, the system automatically slaps them with a curse. No more explaining why they shouldn't commit sins. The gods punish them, and the game goes on. Here we go. We got clerics. Here, let me position this to where I can read the whole thing. Clerics. Oh God, I'm blind. Hold on. The magical worlds that we create are ones that not possessive, plural. Editor, please. Ones where the god. Man, this has just been a running theme tonight, man. It's like nobody proofreads their shit. I'm sorry, man, but take some pride in it, dude. I admit this is a work in progress. Consider this feedback. Take some pride in your work. Take some pride in your work and proofread it. Because I suspect I'm really going to like the actual content. The Karma Matrix. In a world where the gods actively interact with their followers, their laws will be followed. Some crimes just automatically get a karma-style punishment. The Sin Curse. So you got... Sin Curses are based on the skill of religion. Removing them becomes easier with a higher religion score. For this reason, religion becomes a more useful skill in the game. That's nice. Heroes will now have more motivation to go to church. So if they sin and they get a curse, then they go to church and get it removed. With confession or remove curse or something. Sins do not stack. A hero that has committed one of the sins does not get punished over and over again for the same sin. Difficulty of pendants. What the hell is that? Oh, difficulty of penance. Penance, not pendants. Oh man. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I am so sorry that I'm nitpicking this shit, but this is like, what, the third product in a row that this has been a problem in. Penance. Okay. Last minute rolls having the curse and it affecting you are two different things. Without the need to roleplay it, the GM should assume that the heroes are always having inner monologues, asking for forgiveness for their sins. All right. So what are the so it gives you rules for removing them, and rules for possibly letting players play with them without affecting them. So let's take a look at the list. The following lists are the basic sin curses and types of crimes that reward them. That earn them, not reward them. Name, avarice. Type of sin, seed. Suggested punishment, inaction. Name, blaspheme. Type of sin, contempt. Suggested punishment, pain. Name, era. Type of sin, murder. Suggested punishment, loss. So these, you can actually apply these punishments to any sin, but these are just like the suggested ones. Hold on. All right, so these detail the individual sins, and I'm yeah, I know. It's like and here's the thing. I talk with like some of my patrons that that play in my games. English is not their first language either, so I have to be very clear about what I say and such. So especially when you're talking with a non-English speaker, and they know English, I have found that it is very important to use exacting words, because if you are not even just talking but writing, because if you write and you misspell and you use the wrong word, like an individual who has English as a first language has a good chance of figuring it out by context clues. But if you use the wrong word, like a homophone or whatever, where it sounds the same but means something completely different, then it can really confuse them, especially when it's close but not quite. English has a bunch of those words because of its history. So yeah, I can that's kind of why I get on it, because it does reduce your overall audience. Yeah, and it's cool, and it's like I try and do it as a courtesy for some people. And I got to be honest, I mean, it's not even just people who have English as a secondary language. I gotta admit, I know people with English as a primary language that can get confused with that stuff. And what's funny is that there's something, it's the old ancestor versus descendant kind of thing. I see so many people use the word ancestor to mean descendant now, to the point where it's like I've actually corrected people and had them correct me, and I've had to show them and look it up. And I can only imagine what it would be if I was like English as a second language looking at that kind of thing. I would just be completely confused. But yeah, that's kind of why I nitpick stuff. Now, I will say this: the idea behind this, the idea behind this content is nice. John Waltz, do not get discouraged. Do not get discouraged by what I'm saying. Just try and proof your stuff a little bit better. Also, where's the curses? Okay, here's the curses. So we're on page 5 of 6, and finally they get to the curses. These are the cursed effects. Bad luck can ask you to re-roll a non-D20 roll, keeping the worst result. That's neat. Decay, before making a strength, dexterity, constitution check or saving throw, you get -3 to the roll, or -1d6 to the roll. Doubt, before making an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma check, you get the same penalty to the roll. Inaction, move the hero to the bottom of the initiative turn order. Lost, when the hero goes on to use an item not often used, the item has been lost or destroyed in their adventuring. That's brutal, but at the same time is probably easier than what I do sometimes. Pain, whenever the DM is unsatisfied with the damage rolled, re-roll the damage, taking the better result. Sickness, decrease the hero's maximum hit points by 1 per level until they complete a long rest. And stumble, you lose 10 foot of movement. So here's the thing: we've got a 6-page document here of which one page is the legal, of which one page is the actual content, and then the rest is mostly just ways to remove it. I feel like some streamlining could be done there. I like the idea overall. I like it well enough that I might use similar kind of debuff curses in stuff that I run. I like it overall, but it needs editing. You might want to expand on the curses a little bit, or maybe streamline some of the introduction stuff. That's my honest feedback for this. If I know some people that develop this stuff eventually watch these videos. This is my feedback for this one. Good idea. Get yourself a good cover page. Streamline the introductory material and maybe expand on the curses a bit. And for God's sake, do some proofreading. Okay, that's sin curses. All right. And the goblin pick. Yeah, there's got to be another picture in there. That little picture is... I like that picture. I don't even care if it was completely unrelated. I like it. All right, what's next? Monsters Tactics. Monsters Tactics. Monsters Tactics is a pay-what-you-want product. And I will place it as soon as I figure out where I put it. Oh, it's another Dark Eagle Games Presents thing. Same dude. Is it the same dude? Yeah, by John Waltz. Same dude. We're going to do this. We're going to skip over most of this. This is basically monster logic. This is tactics that monsters can use. Let's take a look at this. Archery X, their priority is to take out archers. Armor X, their priority is to take out low AC enemies. Authority, protect the leader. Bullies. Yeah, this is basically tactics you can use to slap onto monsters. Some of these are neat. Their priority is to take out Fae, even willing to take off attacks of opportunity in order to reach them. Cowardly. Yeah, I like using... this is the first time I've seen this product. I would recommend just eyeballing it if you're short on tactics for monsters. But I use some of these tactics like in my own game, and it makes some people real butthurt. Like this Armor X, their priority is to take out low AC enemies, even willing to take a set attacks of opportunity. I did that in my Tomb of Annihilation game on one of Kate's characters, and she got so angry. She didn't let me forget it throughout the entire thing because I basically had monsters rip her character apart. And she was like, "Why me?" And I was like, "Because everybody else is wearing metal." It's like they're animals. They see you. You're soft. You're squishy. Everybody else is wearing metal. Of course they went after you. Yeah, okay, I'm not going to give a bunch of this. This is neat, though. This is neat. It basically lets you put, like... It boils down tactics into individual keywords. And then it puts those keywords so you can put together, like, an entire, like, script for a monster AI with those keywords. That's a nice idea. Okay, that was Monsters Tactics from the same person. I will put a link in the chat here shortly. Boop, that's Monsters Tactics. Pay what you want. Okay, down to the last 4 of these, and I know for a fact that a couple of these are only like a couple one. Yeah, it's like you gotta give them if they just advance in ranks. That's why I like giving tactics to monsters that may not necessarily make sense, but you give the monsters unique. You give creatures unique personalities by prioritizing different things that they go after. And it may not always make sense, but it's funny, and it makes for a different feel to the combat. I need to do that more often, actually. Next is, what was I looking at? RPG Trap Collection. Wait, RPG Trap Collection. Okay. I'm presuming there's going to be a collection of traps. Yes. Yes! It's a collection of traps with stick figures. Yeah. Yeah, it makes... when you give monsters different tactics, it does make them feel unique. Like, right now, I don't even know. The rest of this doesn't have the stick figures. I'm disappointed. I feel robbed. I want these stick figures to be... 0 out of 10. Stick figures should be in the body of this. You hear, that's what I loved about Grimtooth's trap collection. It's got, like, I reviewed this a long time. Oh, God, I got to pull these off the shelf more often. I reviewed these a long time ago, but they got like illustrations of all the traps in here. I would love trap books with nothing but illustration. Well, not, I mean, with the stats, but with like inline illustrations of what to see. All right. Every Friday, I host live streams where the participants and I create RPG resources for game masters and players to use in their own games. I need to do something like that. You know what I need to do? I need to start like a... I gotta have the DM's Lair YouTube channel. I've watched some of that stuff. The DM's Lair, they're a good YouTube channel. I do recommend them. But I need to do some stuff like that because that seems fun. I just need more time. God, I need more time. The drop and plop. Simple trap. Levels 5 to 10, dangerous. A pitfall trap that has a perfectly fitting gelatinous cube inside. The pit is 10 foot deep by 10 foot and has a trap door at the top. 100 pounds of pressure applied to the trap door. The victims... It needs to be... Here's the thing. It needs to be deeper than 10 foot if you're going to have a gelatinous cube in the bottom. Because a gelatinous cube is 10 foot by 10 foot. So that pitfall really needs to be more like 15 to 20 foot. Because otherwise, when the trap door opens down, it's just going to hit the top of the cube. See what I'm saying? That's brutal. What I did, though, I haven't done that. Now I feel like I want to. That's giving me ideas. But what I have done with the pit trap is had like a pit trap and like a deadfall. So you get like a 10 by 10 foot pit, and then above it you have a 10 by 10 foot stone block. So the trap triggers and the person falls down, and when they hit the bottom, you have like a pressure plate that releases the deadfall and lets the block fall on and like plug the hole with them underneath it. It's brutal. I've used it once. It was like you trigger it, the guy falls into the pit, triggers the trap, then a block falls down and plugs the hole, and then like, for depending on how they, whether they died or not, you have like guts like squeak out of the corners. My favorite trap of late was in Dungeons & Dragons Online, I presume. A dark room where you have only one scepter for illumination, jumping platforms, but friend stepped in the center one, and gelatinous cube dropped on him. Fun. That's awesome, man. That is awesome. I need to use more gelatinous cubes and traps. That sounds fun. That sounds awesome. Let's continue. Let's continue with this. The jelly jam. There's a glass pot of ooze above a door, and it triggers when the door is opened. The pot falls and shatters, releasing 1d4 plus 1 ochre jelly. So these are mostly using monsters and traps. Rusty stuffings. In the corner of us is a small pink toy bear. It's actually a rust monster that has been polymorphed into a toy bear and is incapacitated while in that form. The polymorph wears off 5 minutes after the toy bear has been placed into a container of any kind, such as a backpack. The rust monster then promptly begins to devour all metal items it can. That's neat. Golden Eye. A solid gold sphere sits in the middle of the room. When the sphere is touched, it opens, revealing a death kiss which promptly attacks. This is mostly just monsters in traps. Gold Dust Shroom Boom. Golden mushrooms are growing along the bottom of a chest, stretching about halfway up. Below the mushrooms is a large pile of gold sparkles, and beckons to the characters. I will say this is the first one I've read in like 4 things where I didn't have any editing issues. The editor's spot on. The DM Lair. Luke Hart, author, designer, layout, editor, Ashley Jones. Ashley Jones, you are an excellent editor. This is some well-edited stuff. The Doppeldoor. There's a magical doorway that teleports the first character to step through it into a pocket dimension and replaces them with a doppelganger that looks exactly like them. That's brutal. The effect lasts until the doppelganger dies, at which point the character is teleported to where the doppelganger perishes, taking the place of its body. Brutal. Okay. That dungeon was amusing. GM will torment you example. Watching our fighter run into the hallway and then sprint out of there like with like 20 rust monsters on his tail was funny. Yeah, that sounds like fun, man. I used to play DDO, but I never got past it, man. The thing with DDO is when I used to play it, it was like you went from like the newbie island directly into like 20 levels of sewer crawls. And it kind of lost my interest at that point. I don't know if... I suspect they've changed it in the years since then, because that was years ago. That's the only thing that stopped me from really getting into DDO was basically that. It was like, yay, I'm off of the tutorial island. What do I have now? Oh, look, sewer crawls. More sewer crawls. More sewer crawls. Yeah, and I kind of got... I eventually got past them, but at that point I was like kind of tired of the game. I was like, oh, yeah. I'm not going to go every single one of these. I'm just going to do the highlights. This is the RPG Trap Collection from the DM Lair. Again, excellent one. I haven't actually watched much of the DM Lair stuff lately. I did at one point. It's like a channel I aspire to be like, kind of. The Yeeter Totter. To throw PCs off the bridge and prevent them from passing. In the middle of the bridge, on the railing, is a small sign that reads, "None shall pass." These are magical letters that, when read, cause the trap to spring. When triggered, the please to meet you, which one was that? A pair of large disembodied hands float in front of and block a passage. To get past, the characters must shake hands with them. If the hands are attacked or someone tries to push them out of the way, the hands slap the offenders. They deal 4d10 bludgeoning damage. Brutal. Yeah, that requires them to be... Yes, these are neat traps. The Yeeter Totter. When triggered, violent waves travel down the bridge for one round, causing the bridge to bounce up and down, similar to a trampoline. Players must succeed on a DC 15 dexterity saving throw or be bounced off the edge of the bridge and be dangling from the side while grabbing the ropes. On the next round, dangling players must succeed on a strength saving throw or fail. Players who succeed on this saving throw will be able to pull themselves back onto the bridge. So they're nice. They give you 2 saving throws. I wouldn't, but, you know, that's nice. These are neat, not silent, just deadly. This is an ornate throne designed to kill people. When someone sits on the throne, there is a squish as a sticky substance on the throne immediately bonds to the pants of the person sitting on the throne. Standing up from the throne pulls a pressure plate upwards, triggering the trap. When triggered, a loud farting noise is emitted from the bottom of the throne as a large bladder full of poisonous gas is released. It's a deadly... It is a lethal whoopee cushion, basically. Characters within 15 feet of the throne must make a DC 17 Constitution saving throw or take 18 D10 poison damage. Brutal. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. I need to... I kind of sucks that there's so many sewer things. It's like if you want an MMO, and I know that their purpose is to sell content, but you do not sell content by putting like 20 levels of sewers. No, but this is cool. This is awesome. RPG Trap Collection. Have I already linked it? No, I haven't. Here's the link. It is a pay what you want offering. Oh, wait. Helps if I hit Control C rather than whatever I put there. Beware. This is a locked puzzle box. Every so often a beeping sound emanates. Beep. Is that supposed to be... Yeah, I can't tell if that's bad editing or a pun. If the characters look into the hole, they see some treasure inside. Touching the puzzle box leaves a sticky feeling on your hands. Smells like honey. The puzzle box opens when honey from the pot is poured into a small hole on one side. When opened, a swarm of bees emerges and attacks the character. I need to use more bees. I don't use nearly enough bees. I need to put bees in everything, man. Alright, I think that's it for this. Sorry, this is awesome. RPG Trap Collection. I highly recommend it. Excuse me. Pardon me. Alright, what's next? I got 3 more things to look at. Yeah, swarms are a pain. But that's the whole reason I use them, man. I like the... I got to do an RPG story time about the spider room. I put it in one of my patron games. There was a room in a mansion. There was like this haunted manor they were exploring, right? And there was this room like down a side corridor. There's this room, right? And the room had a plaque on it, and the plaque said, "The Spider Room." And they were like, "What's the Spider Room?" So they opened it. And it was like a 20 by 30 foot room that was standing room only giant spiders. Actually, I think it was more than standing room only giant spiders, because they had spiders on every square of the... I basically put like 40... no, there were like 20 or 30 giant spiders in this room. So they opened the... No, man, thanks for joining me. As always, this will be up on my channel afterwards, so you can catch it from the very beginning. But yeah, the spider room. So they opened the spider room, and there's spiders inside. I don't know what they were expecting from the spider room, but there were spiders inside, and they kind of just flowed out. And the one guy that had gone to look, because the rest of the party was still looking in another room, basically just had... It was like they opened a door, and all these spiders just tumbled out over him, and he ended up just being swamped in the middle of all these spiders. Kind of dumb sounding, but it was funny when it happened. Okay, let me get back to this. I'm sorry, let me get back to this. I got sidetracked. Because I also had something similar to that called the Goblin Room, and it was standing room only goblins. That one was pretty cool too. It was less funny though, because goblins can't really like climb walls and stuff. All right. Anyway, let's take a look at this. The Dozen Dooms. Yeah, it's just like, hey, here. So now I got to put the bee room in something. The bees room. All right. So I got the Dozen Dooms here from Bald Rage. Content warning: contains material that may be unsuitable for readers. For some readers, recommended age 16 plus. I have looked through this and I haven't seen any illustrations, but this may be part where I like cut the stream real quick. All right. It's 190 pages, so I'm not going through this whole thing. Nice. Welcome and thanks for watching. Yeah, I'm getting viewers from all over. I love that. All right. The basics. So this is basically a collection of alternate rules. We are living in a golden age of fantasy role-playing, and there are many different old-school Renaissance rule sets out there. So how does the Dozen Dooms compare? This is a toolkit, not a comprehensive retro clone. So it's new options, hacks, and tweaks. I have not created a garden gnome room. I have put garden gnomes in a dungeon, but I have not created an entire room full of garden gnomes in a dungeon. Although that would be pretty creepy. The garden gnome, there is there is actually. I did a review of one of I think Vengir Satanis did something like that in one of his OSR dungeons. He had a garden gnome room in that. And I know some people don't even want me to mention his name, but that was funny. I don't care who you are, that was funny, man. That garden gnome room in that dungeon. I think it was in Charles. I could be wrong about that. Yeah. There's a lot of zany stuff in that dungeon. A beholder room. Yeah, I couldn't do that, man. I barely use beholders. They're deadly enough, man. I'm kind of a killer DM. I mean, I don't try to kill characters. I like to give them an out. But yeah, I wouldn't even use multiple beholders unless I really thought that the party could take them, because they're pretty deadly. Anyway, you got... This is kind of a setting agnostic thing. Let's take a look through here. You got a Doom mechanic that goes beyond a standard wandering monster table to systematically introduce a random element of tension and bad luck to the game. Now, I think I've seen Doom mechanics in other games. All of the really bad things using D12 tables. Porcelain dolls that do nothing but stand there and stare. That's awesome. Yeah, that dead beholder's readied action for when the door opens. God, man, that. Yeah. That DM wanted to kill you. That DM wanted to kill your character straight up, man. I tell you what, dealing with those porcelain dolls, I have a doll mage in a game I play, and it's kind of like, you know, silly, but all of her stuff revolves around dolls, and she has a spell called Wall of Dolls, and it's relatively low level. It just summons a wall of porcelain dolls, and the people that run the game were like, well, what else do the dolls do? And I was like, I don't know, creep you out? They're just dolls. But it's just like boom, you got like 200 dolls just staring at you. They don't do anything. You can shove them out of the way. They block your stuff. Garden gnomes in a room taking care of plant life. That would be funny, man. That would be funny. All right, you said, okay, I'm sorry, I gotta get back into this. So Dozen Dooms uses kind of a... I love this, though. Hold on a second. So, keep in mind this. The content warning, 16 plus, right? And then right in here, the author is like, in the game I run for my kids, age 7 and 11, we use the following rules. I love that. Okay. All right. So chapter 1, the basics. Basic character information includes the... So this is a system. All right, so this is supposed to be just alternate rules, but it comes out right off the bat and offers you character races and character classes. So I guess this is kind of an OSR system, but it's like tweaks. Okay. Character backgrounds, what the character did before becoming an adventurer. Experience points and level advancement. If you've heard of the traditional method of gaining experience points, there's no need for you to change. However, there is a more streamlined approach. 1 XP is gained for each obstacle overcome and objective reached, and each character levels up every time they earn 10 experience. I don't like that because it flattens the advancement rate. But I can see where it might suit some tables. Characters still require plenty of gold to level up. Oh, I've almost finished all my water. Oh no. Oh no, I've almost finished all my water. It's a sign that the stream's not going on for much longer. Sorry about that. Something awful happens. Alright, although the player characters have been chosen by destiny to become heroes, fate is fickle. Doom points are gained whenever a player rolls a natural 1 on a d20, fails a d20 roll with advantage, or fails a d20 reroll. The GM should keep a running tally of those failed rolls and carry over a party's accumulated Doom points from one adventure to another. At the beginning of each gaming session, the GM secretly rolls a Doom die, or a dice of Doom, and records the resulting Doom number. Whenever the party's accumulated Doom points reach that Doom number, something awful happens. Or, if you prefer, you can refer to these as some horrible and insane twist happens tables. Shit happens. The GM can either roll another d12 secretly, or, more fun in my opinion, ask the player who failed the last roll to make a Dice of Doom roll in front of the rest of the players, and consult a Something Awful Happens table. The tables work best if tailored specifically to your adventure. However, a dozen Something Awful Happen tables are included in Appendix D for lazy, extremely busy GMs. Yeah, for extremely busy. A sample table is provided below. Betrayal. A henchman, animal companion, NPC betrays the party. Can you imagine if an animal companion betrayed you? That'd be hilarious. Yeah. Concept of gold equals levels. The concept of gold equals levels comes from a early attempt to try to make it so that you do not have to immediately rely on combat to level up. So in that way, I kind of like it. But on the other hand, I can see where it won't necessarily track for every single individual's game. So I can totally dig why it doesn't fit everybody's game. But I like that it does give optional ways for people to earn gold without you having to design the game around it. So, all right, revenge. Cultist, assassins, an invisible stalker, a demon, or an elemental sent by an old adversary suddenly attacks. Scavengers. Following the scent of metal and or blood left by the party, a rust monster, gray ooze, ochre jelly, 1d4 ghouls, a boar, carrion crawler, mountain lion, or draco-lizard, owlbear, or some other creature suddenly appears and attacks. Yeah. I mean, I actually wanted to do an entire thing about like business or merchanting thing. Yeah. You know what I did though in terms of 5th edition stuff? I never got to finish it, but it's still on my channel somewhere. I ran a 5th edition game called Goblin Gears, and it was actually kind of inspired by like the Thief series and by Styx, Master of Shadows or whatever, where they played goblin thieves, and their whole purpose, like the majority of that game was avoiding combat, although they did get into some combat. And I gave them like 1 experience per gold or whatever that they acquired. So I understand it would hurt on something like Curse of Strahd, but in that one, even though they were getting relatively small amounts of money, I was giving gold for experience in 5th edition, and it actually worked out really well. I missed that campaign, but the 2 players that were in it, their schedules never converged again. Almost never. I would love to like write that campaign up for something. Fellowship. Each time a party completes an adventure without a character dying, they earn 1d4 fellowship points that can be used in their next adventure to gain advantage on the d20 rolls for each member of the party for 1 round per fellowship point spent. That's a neat concept. That helps build camaraderie. Hero points. I think hero points have been used before. Can be used to overturn any roll. Alignment. They just use lawful/chaotic. Lawful good and chaotic evil. And just move between that. You got optional encumbrance rules. I've spent too much time rambling. I'm gonna address this. The Dozen Dooms seems pretty okay so far. I haven't seen anything out of the ordinary in terms of editing. These are all optional rules. You've got an optional encumbrance thing. You've got insanity rules. This is where the sensitive content comes in, because some people don't like the fact that some games have insanity things because it's insensitive to people with mental illness, and I can understand that. But at the same time, some things are just designed around it. There's optional combat rules. You've got base attack damage on class, which I've seen in other systems before. That's not a bad rule to have. All right. They got armor as damage reduction. Variations on target numbers. All right. I think I'm going to wrap. I'm not going to go through the rest of this book. This is the Dozen Dooms. Have I put a link to it? No, I haven't. Here's the Dozen Dooms. It is a pay what you want option available on DriveThruRPG. It's got a bunch of stuff that looks like it can be used for both 5th edition and OSR style games. So that could be useful. Gold for experience could be fun for something where each player has a guild or something they manage, where it's sort of a cooperative, competitive scenario. Profit for levels. Yeah, I would love to run something like that too. I really would. That does sound interesting. Because not all... It's like, I love fantasy role-playing games. Yeah. I love fantasy role-playing games. But there's so much more than just dungeon crawling. And I feel like a heretic saying that, because I love dungeon crawls. But I can see so many fantasy games where you run like competitive industry, or you're like a merchant or an investigator rather than, and it's still got the same classic fantasy feel. It's just you're in a different role of things. Okay, next one I'm looking at is Cold Cases. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. It's only 12 pages, but it's like it's card based, which kind of got me. But what Cold Cases is, it's a lightweight OSR RPG system for use in any setting, including fantasy and sci-fi. Contains rules for creating PCs, a full skill system, an armory, and bestiary to get you going. And this is from... What is this from? Is that Cassette Game? Or is it just Game? Hold on a second. Instructions. Oh my god. I can't read this. I'm sorry. I'm blind as a bat as it is. These cards and the J card intend to be printed and fit onto a standard audio tape cassette. Oh my god. It's printing. It's card printing. It's a card-based game. This could be the best game in the world. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Okay, it's lightweight RPG, written to assume a bit of knowledge about what an RPG is, because it's mostly on cards. Before the game, ensure that every player has a standard deck of cards. The jokers and aces should be removed, and the decks are shuffled. The jokers are not used, and the aces are used in melee combat and to track hero points. It gives you a way to interpret card values. And shoot the card a player draws is important because it provides buffs. I don't like card-based RPGs. I honestly don't. And part of that's that's mostly because I play most of my stuff online now. And card-based RPGs are notoriously hard to play online. Dice-based RPGs are so much better, but finding like a really good adaptable card-based thing online is kind of... I mean, I'm sure they're out there. I know Roll20 has support for them, but by the time you've made all the adaptations and such, it's just so hard for me. This is Cold Cases. Man, I'm skimming over this stuff, and I'm really sorry. I'm supposed to be taking a look at this. But a lot of this stuff is just like... I'm skimming over it. Okay, characteristics. There are 4 characteristics for every PC and NPC. You've got speed, action, stamina, and perception. Speed, this represents how fast you move. Action values determine your physical prowess. Stamina defines your vitality and endurance. And perception is mental prowess and fortitude. You assign 32 points between those 4. You got 4 races, human, elf, dwarf, and ogre, which can modify your basic stats. Then you pick your skills, and then you choose a kit, which I guess is your class. Yeah. Yeah, that's a shame, man, but hopefully it's not going to last forever. People will be able to get out and about. I mean, I say that. I live in Texas. We never could... I mean, we barely locked down. So when I say that it won't last forever and don't worry about the lockdowns... I understand how that sounds. I feel for you. I feel for people that are in places that did like full lockdowns, but they're not going to last forever. So keep those wood runes and look forward to the day when you can play and face no problem. Yeah, no, card-based games. There's a bunch of role-playing games. I've covered a couple of them. I haven't covered in depth, but there's a bunch of games that fundamentally your average deck of cards is nothing more than a random number generator. Same as dice. So what a lot of these games, well, not a lot of them, but what some of these games do is they try to adapt that, because with a deck of cards you've got, it's like playing with a D40 or playing with 4D10. Because you've got 4 suits and you've got cards 1 to 10, and then you've got your crown cards. Yeah, I totally understand, man. Like even though I could get out, part of what I do is I care for my elderly parents, so I have to minimize my own risks too. Even though technically speaking, I could get out and about. So I feel that. I feel that, man. So wait for things to settle out and be safe. But they will be waiting, and then you'll be able to do what you want, man. But yeah, people use the cards as like a random number generator. And part of the main reason that I don't cover more card-based games is, quite frankly, I don't think I actually own a deck of cards. I no longer own a deck of cards. So anytime I see one that requires cards, I mean, I guess I should order one just to try to play. Just to try to review some of these, but see what I mean? You've got like a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing to resolve combat in melee combat. I'm not saying this is a bad game. I'm just saying that it's a card-based game, so I can't really give you a... It's got all of these rules, and they're all printed on index cards, so you can fit them into cassette tape. But aside from cards, you know what else I don't own anymore? Cassette tape cases. So I'm sorry, Cold Cases. You could be the best RPG in the world, but I'm not your target audience. And this looks neat. This looks neat. They got like different skills you can use and such. All on their own little cards, so you can keep just the cards that pertain to your character. I like this idea. This seems like the kind of game where you could print it out and put it together and pop it in your pocket to use. Yeah. Yeah, I've got VHS and VHS players, but I haven't watched them in like 20 years. I'm afraid to run any of them. I'm afraid my machine will eat them. Yeah. I'm going to move on to the next one. This looks neat. I will say this. I like the art. Even though it's like super stylized and such, I like this simplistic, like aggro kind of black and white art. I like that. So that was Cold Case's core rules. I will put a link in the chat. And then we'll look at this, and the last rule set I have slated to look at today. The last rule set I have slated to look at is actually one that I've seen a bunch of stuff based on. It's really, really brief. And I was actually looking through this on my last RPG News Roundup. But they've got a lot of these 24 something, like 2400. And what they are they're standalone sci-fi games, which use these rules. So this is the SRD. This is like the rules document that powers those. And each of them are available as like a standalone little game. They've got the adventure and the rules all included. So this is just 4 pages, one of which is the page that you're seeing here. So they're based on this. Rules. Players describe what their characters do. The game moderator advises when an action is impossible, requires extra steps, demands a cost, or presents an avoidable risk. Players only roll to avoid risks. Rolling. Roll a d6 skill die, higher with a relevant skill, or a d4 if hindered by injury or circumstances. If helped by circumstances, roll an extra d6. If helped by an ally, they roll their skill die and share the risk. Take the highest die. So, allies can basically give you advantage, kind of. 1 to 2 is disaster. Suffer the full risk. The DM decides if you succeed at all. If risking death, you die. Sorry, you rolled a 1. You die. A lesser consequence or partial success. If risking death, you're maimed. Success. The higher the roll, the better. So this is simplicity in and of itself, which is good for these like standalone kind of rules. If success can't get what you want, you make the shot, but it's bulletproof. You'll at least get useful information or set up an advantage. Load. Carry as much as makes sense, but more than one bulky item may hinder you at times, which bumps your die down as described above. Advancement. After a job, increase a skill. None, D8, D10, D12, and gain 1 credit. Defense. Say how one of your items breaks to turn a hit into a brief hindrance. Broken gear is useless until repaired. Harm. Injuries take time and or medical attention to heal. If killed, make a new character to be introduced ASAP. Favor inclusion over realism. Running, yeah, and that last part actually makes sense, because I've had dungeons where I've had Dungeons & Dragons games where somebody's died and they haven't been able to introduce a character for like 3 to 4 sessions. even with me trying to intro the character. I think you may have seen it in my Tomb of Annihilation thing if you've been watching that. Sometimes it's better to just say the new character walks up the corridor. Running the game. Lead the group in setting lines, not to cross and play. Fast forward, pause, or rewind, redo scenes for pacing and safety, and invite players to do otherwise. Safety. I always have a problem. Like, I understand running games that people may not like, or people may have serious issues with the content. But I do have a real problem with with when you start verging into territory like keeping a place safe, because unless you're like doing, it's weird, man. It's weird. I don't like that wording. I don't like that wording. Present dilemmas and problems you don't know how to solve. Move the spotlight to give everyone time to shine. Test periodically for bad luck. Offer rulings to cover gaps in rules. So this is all basic rules light stuff. SRD design notes start with 2 slashes, like this. Other paragraphs are player/GM facing text. Characters start with 6 skill increases and are credits and items, possibly combining specialty and origin. Yeah, so this is like pared down rules to the extreme. And I will say this in terms of wording, it's almost to the point where it's not quite clear in terms of how some of these the rules are worded, but it is relatively clear so far. So I mean, I'm understanding it so far, so that's the important part. Face is your character has a specialty between face, muscle, psychic, medic, sneak, and tech. You choose an origin: alien, android, or human. I do like using that term, origin. Like I know some RPGs are trying to get away from the term race. I like origin. I like species. I'm gonna keep using race. Screw it. But origin is good. What I don't like is stuff like ancestry, and part of that is because I've ranted on this before. I like origin though. I don't like words like ancestry when used with like stuff like this, because then you really do sound like you should be like wearing a white hood when you start using ancestry. Like this ancestry, that. Yeah, you do sound like you should be wearing a white hood at that point. All right. So I got human, android, and alien. That's good. You get choose or invent skills if prompted by origin. Climbing, connections, deception. These are just sample skills. And based on the game, you get skill. You can put skills, and the skills are just governed by dice. Yeah. The premise. Explain the basics of the setting. If it's not made clear elsewhere, give a reason for the characters to stick together and hint at what they'll be spending. So you roll a d20 for content, client, or target. You roll a d6 to find a job. So that's all of the SRD. Here you go. You got. It's very, very simple. It's very simple. And I will tell you this is the 24XX SRD. It's just got rules and such. And that is the core for other games. And let me take a look real quick. I'm about to wrap this up because that was the last one, but let me take a look real quick. All right. So they have a bunch of games. And I'm trying to look them up. We got like 24XX Sphinx from Tibius. Welcome to the Kemet of the New Kingdom. You are servants of Pharaoh, no matter how you walk your life. There is no escape from your Mot, which is the path to success and happiness. Though you call on spirits in the practice of Heka, they aid you only in perfecting your fate. So yeah, this system can be used for sci-fi, it can be used for historical, it can be used for fantasy. So they've got all these different like standalone games. And they're usually only 4 to 8 pages. So you ever go on DriveThruRPG and want to take a look, you just look up 24XX, and there's a bunch of them, and they're usually only like $2. And they got them from a couple different people. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's a quick standalone system. It's not a bad system. It's not a bad system. I like looking at these like small offerings. And remember, if you ever use these in a group and they're pay what you want, remember you can always pay $0 to try it out and then maybe ask your group or whatever whether it's worth giving a couple bucks to the author. You know? I like to cover these kinds of things because you can find some interesting hidden gems in them. And you could also whine and complain about editing issues for like an hour. So yeah, they're nice. They're a nice little offering. I don't know when my next one's gonna be. It may be a little while. I'm not gonna say that. Because I just gather these whenever I do my RPG News roundups. Anytime I see like a free or a pay what you want offering, I go ahead and set it aside, and then I look to make sure it's not complete crap, because I've seen some that are terrible. And if it looks like semi-decent, then I go ahead and throw it on there to look at. I need to look at Mork Borg. I need to look at Mork Borg. I don't know when I'm going to look at that. That piqued my interest. That Cannibal Carnage one, that piqued my interest. As far as other stuff, I finished writing my reviews for the Frenzy Kitty game stuff today. I'll record them sometime this weekend, probably get them up next week. Aside from that, you know, same old, same old. Thank you all for watching. If you want to catch this stream from the beginning, give it time to process on YouTube, and you can probably pick it up from the very start. I will leave it up as always. I will try to put these links in the description. Not description. I will try to put these links in like a comment below if I remember. I don't think I remembered last week. And as always, if you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. And if you want to see me do like either some tabletop design or something, let me know, because I saw that like DM's Lair does that on streams and such. I don't know, maybe I could do that. I'd have to figure out how to set it up. But if you want to see me do that kind of thing, let me know. Alright, until next time, take care and goodbye.